All right, so according to a new article by MoneyWise, the damaged home sell-off has begun across the Florida West Coast. This article specifically targets Tampa, stating that dozens of homes are starting to hit the market up there, reading cash only, investor purchases, and as is. As is, guys, in Florida is pretty typical. We sell almost every home in my area, at least, and most of the state as is. So that's not really indicative of anything. But when you see cash only and investor special, then you know there's some work to be done. We'll take a look at a few of those here today because this is happening not just in Tampa, all up and down the West Coast. And we are starting to see them in my area quite frequently. Like I said, a lot more than I thought we would. So people are basically dumping these properties. You know, either they didn't have insurance or the insurance isn't going to cover the damage that they sustained. But I think you got to price them a little better than they have because they're not really factoring in. They're just kind of pricing for the land right now. They're not pricing in for the demolition of the original house, which I think needs to be factored in. So take a look at this house, guys. This is one of the flood distressed properties. Obviously, you can see this is the Gulf of Mexico. So this house had a bad time. The sand is still in it. It's going to need to be demoed. Up for $2.5 million. And I don't know. In Inglewood, Florida is a piece of land at the beach. Is beach worth $2.5 million? I guess we're gonna find out. Actually, this will probably go pending by the time I post this video, like the last house that I put up did. But you can get beachfront for $2.5 million, knock it down, put another $2 million house in there. You're all in for $4.5 million. So, wow, look at the mound that's still there that you could see is carved out around it. Holy cow. But obviously, you know, you got to tear the house down and build up to new codes. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is worth $2.5 million for just the land here? I'm very interested to hear your thoughts because, you know, they say they're not making any more waterfront. But Zillow seemed to feel that even in the peak, this house was worth about $1.9 million and had kind of crept down by Zillow's estimate, which again is highly inaccurate, to about $1.5 million, and then we shoot up to $2.5 million. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I'm very interested to see everybody's stance on this. And this is the MoneyWise article I referenced in the beginning, guys. I just want to leave Floridians are saying they're selling their flood-damaged homes as is to investors accepting cash-only deals to walk away forever after 2 major hurricanes in 2 weeks. Now, we all knew this was going to happen. We said this was coming. One resident has decided it's time to cut her losses. According to the report, she bought her home in 2021 for $575,000. It has flooded 3 times in just 2 years. It's been stripped down to the studs again. It is now listed for $425,000. And like we mentioned, guys, do you think this is going to be a hard sell even at that price with her taking a loss? It's damaged and it's flooded 3 times in 2 years. That's a lot of risk to take on. I can't live in a flood zone where you are constantly having to move out every 6 or 7 months, she said. And again, guys, all of Florida is a flood zone. There's flood zones everywhere in the country. It really just comes down to what severity. And they do interview a realtor here. He represents a couple a quarter mile away who is also ready to sell. It looks like his clients bought and renovated and flipped the property before the hurricanes hit. House was previously listed for $460,000, now gutted. They're looking to get $300,000. But the realtor does say investors are calling and ready to buy up homes. And I gotta say, guys, it is kind of what I'm seeing down here as well. He mentions a lot of houses are pending and that he was actually surprised to see that. What are the financial impacts of selling homes as is and for cash? They're huge, guys. Let's see. For Florida homeowners, selling their homes as is for cash represents a chance to move on and escape the constant cycle of damage, relocation, and repair besides skyrocketing insurance costs. It also means less money. If you want to sell a damaged house as is, or you want a cash-only deal, generally, you're going to get less money. And they do cover that. While selling for cash in as-is condition might leave some money on the table, most are walking away with their insurance payouts, which likely bridges some, if not all, of the financial gap for many residents. And according to an analysis done by the Washington Post of the National Flood Insurance Program, only about 0.8% of homes inland actually have any flood insurance at all. Now, for coastal counties, it's about 21% of homes have flood insurance, which is still very low. But some of these people were very far inland who got flooded as well through Helene. And That's also contributing to this rising distressed inventory. Now, they do add in that report that they feel the flood maps are outdated for the FEMA flood zones and need to be updated. So a lot of people actually are in flood prone areas and don't know it, which we've seen here on the channel before. Now, if you're gonna buy a flood damaged home and it's obvious it's been flood damaged, you know what you're getting into. But if you're going to buy one that has possibly been remediated, one, I hope, due to the new laws, the sellers disclose that. So the question I would ask is, was there a certified mold remediation? Do you have a report showing that? And if not, well, maybe you guys should be getting mold tests and see what they say. Because you can't bank on someone fixing their own property to the same caliber that would be required to someone buying it. And I see this all the time down here, guys. We get into this with unpermitted work that's done on properties. We get into it with kind of hairy homeowner stuff where the seller makes tiny repairs and then you get behind the facade or you get into the wall and it's like, ooh, they did a terrible job. So if that can happen on something like as small as electrical and plumbing, very tiny jobs, you do not want a house where the seller, in my opinion, personally remediated flood damage. A personal story that we just had here, friends of the channel were purchasing a home, and unfortunately, when Helene came, the home flooded. Obviously, they backed out and were like, hey, we're not buying a flooded house. It didn't seem like at the time that the seller was gonna have any way of repairing this and was gonna have to deal with, the insurance issues and all that. And we actually closed on the other house they bought today, which worked out much better, and is why I'm in the garb I'm in without my usual t-shirt. You can see here over in Westport, we still have some remnants of the hurricanes with the fences being down. So to my surprise, a project that I thought was going to take months to unfold for this seller to get that house back together turned out to be about 2 to 3 weeks, and all of a sudden the house is back on the market. And it does mention that it did get water in Helene, but the pictures don't show that. So who did that? Was it done quickly by the seller? Was it done professionally? That's probably my biggest concern, guys. If there's any sort of water remediation, then you got to make sure it was done good, because, or at least by licensed professionals, because some people will come in. I've seen it before there was flooding from these hurricanes, and they'll wipe down the walls and spray it with something they found on the internet that says it kills mold and go, oh, we're good. And maybe you're not good. And sometimes the sellers don't even understand what they're doing and the legal potential ramifications that they're exposing themselves to. Unpermitted work that they write in the listing description is brand new plumbing, brand new roof, and it's like, oh, the owner's like, yeah, I did it myself. Like, what? Did you pull a permit? No. Oh my God. Okay, well, that affects the value of the home, guys, as I'm sure you know. And then we've got to renegotiate things when those kind of things come up. They're not unsellable properties. I've seen properties sold completely remodeled with no permits pulled. As long as the seller discloses that and provides, in our contract, it states provides all the documentation that a buyer would need to see the work done, the transaction can still happen, especially if it's cash. But everything's got to be put out there in the open, and sometimes it's not. And I don't necessarily think it's because people are ill-intentioned. I think people really don't understand, because they tout these upgrades that they did by themselves without permits in the descriptions. So, if you really were doing something nefarious, you probably wouldn't put that in there, is all I'm saying. But if they're gonna do something like that on little electrical things or plumbing things, don't take the chance on a flooded property that the seller went in and did what they thought was good enough to remediate the damage. So I'm down here in Westport today, guys. Looks like D.R. Horton's starting another phase here. They're gonna be kicking off, still rocking and rolling. These apartments that they've been building for several years are somehow still not done. And when they come to market, it's gonna flood the rental market even more. I just came from 41 here. There's new apartments being built all over 41 in Northport and Port Charlotte by the Kia dealership. So they just are dead set on flooding this rental supply. I don't understand why. I know things that were started years ago you can't stop them, but These have been here for a very long time. The new ones that I passed by just now just went up. And the rental market, I would classify it here as highly distressed, even, which is not what I thought would happen. I thought it would boom, but I guess not enough people were displaced from the hurricane to really sustain inventory dropping. It's very, very high. It's almost 1,900 rentals, and we don't even have these and all the others on the market yet. So very, very weak rental market. Seasonal rental market is also very bad, as you guys know, but that was pre-hurricane. It was heading in that direction, and now it just seems to be continuing. So don't really know why they're still building all these multifamily apartments for people. No one can afford them. There's a reason that they're all empty. And I'll tell you guys, you know I like to do those giant price drop videos. They're getting harder and harder to find, unfortunately. A year ago, it wasn't hard for me to pull a couple of solds and be like, holy crap, $600,000 off the original asking price. But that is becoming a challenge now. The mentality has shifted here in Southwest Florida, but from sellers, agents, buyers, everyone's kind of realizing that the frenzy days are way, way over. We're so far past that, and now we're into price declines. And it's causing sellers to be much more receptive to pricing appropriately for the market at this time. Are they pricing at 2019 prices? No. No, they are not. But inflation adjusted, I'd argue some of them are pretty close. So it's definitely not the huge home run swings off of listing price I was seeing, just because things are coming back to more reality-based pricing. It's still not where people want it to be in some cases. In some cases, people didn't want to buy at the top, and they know now that they aren't. So it's a personal preference, it's an individual choice on what you feel is the right time to buy. That's gonna do it for me today, guys. If you like this video, give me a like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.